Hello again, my friends. It's been quite a while, not quite a while actually. I think last time I made a segment for us. I say for us because I even sometimes watch them because I can't even figure out how the heck did I come up with all those analogies because some of them really make sense. I'm glad to have an opportunity to sit down with you tonight again and share with you a segment that's perhaps would be completing all the segments that I intended to compile and include in a book that I'm writing, which I hope it will be of some help to some of you, if not all of you. I pride myself to think that I've experienced life in a positive way and tried to teach myself, learn from scholars and examples, and life itself has been the biggest teacher to every one of us, including myself. And I've learned a lot from life and experiences, and from each experience it is possible, at least to most of them, to try to figure out things from it. And through my years of life, I think I have compiled enough positive information that could be of some service to some of us who are still in the earlier stages of this wonderful, often pleasant, but also winding road of the journey of life. And knowing how to lean toward the bends of the road and how to endure the uphills and how to control the speed of the downhill movement. It's an art by itself. Life is an art, and there are all kinds of things in this life. The problem arises that when we think life is supposed to be the ultimate stage of this nature and wisdom of this universe. And with that premise, we often get disappointed because life is not the absolute universe that we expect it to be, all perfect and fair and healing and understanding and proper and so on. And if we are the kind of individual that focuses on these good high qualities through our lives, which is, I recommend it, we may get most often, or more than not often, surprised and disappointed, because most other individuals on this earth don't necessarily follow this train of thoughts and manners and philosophy and understanding and this way of negotiating through life. And they behave improperly, they behave negatively, they affect others negatively. And all of that should not be a reflection on you, because you would be the one who would be pissed off or suffer or wonder and shocked. But all of that is a reflection of their own lack of understanding of what life is all about. And in many occasions we can call them idiots, because that is the only way you can describe them. And the way perhaps we can make a little bit of an attempt to understand this whole concept of these negative people and negativities and things that disappoints us in life and shocks us due to the fact that we don't expect others behave any differently than our civilized way of thinking and behaving. Perhaps we can approach it in this way, that human beings in general, mostly, are lazy. When they're lazy, they don't tend to make something out of themselves in life. When they don't tend to make something out of themselves in life, they don't understand that with it comes lack of self-satisfaction, lack of value, lack of worth, lack of contentment, lack of positivity, lack of acceptance of their acceptance by the society, any society, because society doesn't like negative people, especially that now millions of years have passed and people have become more and more civilized. So their expectations of life is, and people, other individuals, is higher than what it was in the caveman. So they don't understand that this laziness brings about lack of worth and lack of all the things that we just mentioned, and that is, but yet they expect worth, they expect value, and they don't realize that they haven't made an effort to make something out of themselves. That's why they feel worthless, but yet they see their worthlessness not as what it is. They excuse it and come up with excuses for themselves in one way or another and try to justify that I'm better than what I am, and because I'm better than what I am, I should get all these benefits that comes with making efforts, making something out of myself. But I didn't do that, but I still want the benefits. And if I can't get the benefits, I'm going to get the benefits because one way or another, because I feel I deserve it. I mean, that's the nature of an idiot. And so what they do is that they say, okay, I didn't make anything out of myself. I didn't make an effort to make anything out of myself. I don't want to make that effort, but I want to reap the benefits. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to find somebody who is a upstanding individual, who is of positive nature, who has many things going for him or her, and then I'm going to try to steal something from them, which means try to either badmouth them or threaten them or try to have this illusion of, by saying or doing something negatively towards them, I actually would be able to hinder or affect or diminish their value, their worth, which is the result of their efforts in life because they weren't lazy. Their mistake is that when you insult someone or accuse someone wrongly, and you will never take anything off of that person. Nothing comes off of that, the value and worth and respect and honor of that person. Nothing. But what it does is creates an illusion in the idiot's mind that I have actually been able to have a shortcut and bring some value to myself because I, in my mind, my own mind, devaluated, diminished the value of somebody else who was valuable. This is the actual intention of a person who has no worth for himself, but is trying to catch some worth freely. And this is what they commit themselves to. Acts of nuisance and menace and negativity, negative energy and disrespect and so on. And they think that actually does anything to that valuable person, which it doesn't. Because what it is like they come and throw some mud on some person. Well, it may at that very moment look like that person has lost its shine. But it's mud. It hasn't affected his inner soul, inner values, the qualities that he used in his life to bring value to himself. It's just mud. It's just a surface smudge. Nothing else. But the idiot who actually attempts or commits this thinks that momentary image being smudged or look like it's smudged in his own mind, but not in the mind of the people who really know that person, he thinks that has now created some value for him because the value of that person has diminished, and therefore he thinks his value has gone up. It's the old assumption of that if you want to have the tallest building in the city, go and knock down all the other buildings. And they think, okay, because the others are knocked down, now I look a little taller. And that's simple stupidity, because nobody believes that. And next time they want to try to destroy some building, everybody's standing at the door, say, hey, I know about you. You want to tarnish my building. So the person who actually does these sort of things is the person who is similarly is trying to throw some mud on someone's clothing. But the person really may be shocked or wondered or be surprised or be thinking something has been diminished from him, the valuable person. But really in about a while realizes that it was just mud. I took my clothes off or had it washed, and in reality, in actuality, nothing has been diminished from me. Nothing, absolutely nothing. It was just a momentary distortion in the image, and not my real image of my clothing. So what they do, then they see nothing happened, and they realize that their action didn't result in any value in themselves, the idiots. So now they go and try to threat the person's life. I'm going to beat you up. And that again doesn't do anything until they say, okay, I'm then going to bring more harm to you. And that's the time they actually become the bigger prey for the authorities, and they catch him, take him, put him in jail, and they rot in jail. So they never can ever add any value to themselves by shortcuts and by creating these kind of difficulties and behavior, negative behavior toward other people. When a person is unworthy, the only way to make himself worthy is through his own actions, and not through his jealousy or feeling of incompetence and trying to create some kind of a negative image of someone else by such smudging behavior or this bad behavior. Nothing changes in reality. He may have an illusion that, oh, I won the day because I was able to, threat somebody or throw some mud at somebody. But in reality, nothing happens. And again, then we come back to the subject of images, and that's all because they have created an illusionary image for themselves. Instead of building a good image, they have these images. All of us in life have different images all the time through our life, through our day. Even different images keep changing. And to preserve that image, if we don't understand it, we always try to preserve that certain image. We think that that image is our honor, that image is everything that we are, and we go to the limits to protect that image or fight with someone else because of our image. That person tried to put our image down, and we try to show them, no, our image is really good. But this very image that we're protecting at this moment, a moment later, or an hour later, or 2 days later, we may not need this image. We employ another image for that particular day and the purpose that we have on that day. And we abandon it so easily because it's not of use. And later on, we may come back to it and use this image again for the purpose of, or the, what we need for that particular day to accomplish. Because we always have different images that we need, that we use, not need, throughout our life, daily life, and we think that's something that we really need in order to represent us to the outside, because we think the outside's opinion is very important, and we have to have a certain image and have them see us as that certain image, and we got to protect this image so we'll have that certain value in the eyes of the society. That's about our normal people. It's not about the idiots. We just finished with that subject. So this image is the cause of the conflicts, because the images of different people creates the division between the different people, and this division brings the conflict. And often these images of our own are having conflicts with each other through one day to the next, because today we choose to be this, whether we saw a movie or whether we have this need, or whether we see ourselves differently that day as a scholar, and one day as a sportsmanship, and the other one, sportsman, and the other day as a good student, or the other way as a romantic a person, I don't know, Casanova, another day of something else, because we are trying to satisfy these shortcomings by creating illusionary image and protect that image and present our image and carry that ourselves through that image through our daily life and in connection with the society, which each member of the society have their own images, and then these images of ours and theirs try to compete and say, I have a better image and you have a better image, and then division and conflicts and so on and so forth. That's why there will always be conflict with people. But the key is to understand that, of course, I'm talking about normal people, not the idiots that, behave the way I mentioned. I'm talking about normal people should understand that these images are really not necessary. And these are the causes and the reasons for the division between people. And we should really try our best to knock down all images. And if we can go through life without a need for any image, we would hardly be insulted, and we would hardly find any reason to insult anyone else or to be demeaning to anyone else or try to prove any illusionary vision of our own image that is better than your image, and the others will not do the same thing. So life will be much more relaxed and positive. And these idea of having image is also one that contributes to fear, creating fear, because the fear of losing my image to the society, like how society thinks of me, is based on the image that I've created for myself. Like I think I'm blah blah blah, this and that. I'm a scholar. I know this much. I know that much. Or I'm a mathematician. Or I'm a doctor. Or a lawyer. Or I'm a whatever else. I'm a realtor. I'm a professional. Or I'm a motorcycle driver. Or biker. Or I'm a sportsman. Different images. Or I'm a father. Or mother. Not me. Some lady. Or I'm a good daughter, good son, or I'm a businessman, or it's all about portraying that image of something rather than just doing what needs to be done without expecting any praise or recognition of what image we have created for ourselves from the others. That brings much of stress of the life down. And then in that case, even if some idiot comes along and tries to shortcut and create some worth and value for themselves by trying to attack our image or being just obnoxious or whatever the hell that it is that these idiots do, we, not having a specific image, not being bound to protect that image because we understand the value is in our soul, within our spirits, is in our know-how, is our knowledge, which is all limited, but that's where the value is, then therefore we have no need to protect that image that some idiot is trying to insult, because we understand ourselves that our worth and value has nothing to do with the image that is being insulted or the image that should be protected of any kind. We would be whole, one with the nature, one with the universe, because look, nature doesn't have any image, universe doesn't have any image, the energy that flows through us, passes through us, binds us, that doesn't have any image. It just is. And it's strong, is powerful, is happy, is good, and doesn't need anybody's affirmation. And nothing becomes less of it by some other people not offering affirmation to it or respecting it or whatever, because what it is, the reality, the actuality, doesn't need an affirmation. Energy of the universe, how we live, what we use to live, the energy flows through us, binds us. I've heard that before. It sounds like Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars, which is true. In Aikido we learned this amazing ki energy flowing throughout the universe from one end to the other is the same thing that the universe is built upon and made upon from it, and we are made from the same energy. So we and the universe can easily be one if we can put our frequencies of thoughts and resonations on the same level. And this whole energy has no need for any affirmation or having an image. It's just there. It flows through us, binds us, and gives us life, and interchanges and has conflux with the energy of the nature, energy of the universe. And we just need to be able to understand this is what our value can grow, by understanding how we can become more closer, more one with this energy, and its flow would be more flowing through us without tensions that could possibly slow down the flow of the energy through us. So it is important for us to understand that the images should not really be protected. We should not have even an image. If we can manage to have no image through our life, it will be much easier life, and therefore there would be much less fear, because we wouldn't have the fear of, oh, I'm going to lose this image that I've worked so hard to build, and now this neighbor or that society member or that authority or this and that will think of me differently. In that way, there would be one less kind of a fear that we would feel, because of we need to keep our image. And for that image, we're going to go fight. And really what we're fighting is an illusory image that makes no difference to us if the other side will think we have that image or not. But we think that it has a lot to do with our value and worth, or who we are. Lo and behold, that this image is made out of our consciousness, and our consciousness has the information in it, which is all limited based on experiences that we have had in the past, and it came to be a knowledge, and the knowledge became to be part of our memory, and that whole thing created our consciousness, because from that memory thoughts are born, and from that thoughts other actions are born, from that other actions more experience, more knowledge, and more information in the memory, and that whole continuous action becomes our consciousness. And our consciousness therefore is limited based on our experiences in life and so on, which is everybody's is limited. And therefore, why are we trying to protect a limited image anyhow? That image is coming from a limited information. So it's really not something that we should defend it so much, because it can always be improved, that who we are. And who we are is really based on what our consciousness holds, not based on the image that we chose out of this contents of consciousness. Based on what's in our consciousness, we chose that image. So the image is really a fragment of thoughts, and it's not the whole thing. So why are we so holding on to it so preciously, as the image that is a fragment of our thoughts in consciousness is the actuality of us and the whole center of my person? To understand myself, I gotta know me. I gotta know everything that I'm made out of, which is, the family and myself, my interests, nationality, religion, philosophy, education, whatever, all that is me. So for me to understand that, perhaps would be helpful if I don't get stuck to one fragment of that whole thing that I am, and consider that to be me, the image that I pick out of it, and try to defend that as if that is my whole. My whole is a lot more than one image that I choose. That's why we constantly choose different images, because we consciously, in our mind, we know that this is not this image that we've chosen for today, or for this year, or this month, or this week, is not my whole. It's not the whole of me. Therefore, automatically, based on what we need, we abandon this image and pick up another image. So why is it that when I am using that limited image, that image that is representing a fragment of me, whole of me, I'm defending it so much, and it's so important for me to defend it and go to battle for it, when I myself know this is not whole of me? That's why another day or another month I take another different kind of image. So knowing that the image is limited, we shouldn't really be fearful of losing it, and we should understand that fear of all kinds, we don't need to add to it another fear. We should understand what brings fear, as we have had this discussion in other segments, and perhaps we can conclude that fear comes to us because fear is because fear is relevant to what we're hanging on to. In other words, I was this, I am this, and I will be this. Yesterday I was fine. Today I'm okay. I hope everything will be fine again tomorrow. So it's a comparison of the actuality of things, how it was, how it is, how it will be, which would mean I'm always comparing the actuality of now, which is permanent, versus something impermanent, that the fear of this permanent, that part of that impermanent affecting the permanent that it is now, makes me fearful. No, the effect of that impermanent possibly on the permanent situation is what brings out fear. In other words, I'm fine now, I hope I will be fine tomorrow. So I have a fear of possibly what's going to happen tomorrow, or if everything will be okay. So permanent now, a fragment of the impermanent, which is tomorrow or the past, that to me would be one of the reasons of the whole concepts movement of fear. So we need less of impermanence coming to the picture to create a comparison with the permanent situation that we are feeling great right now. I'm fine now. I feel good. Yesterday I didn't feel so good. Today I feel good. I'm afraid when I compare them, my mind goes there to where it wasn't good yesterday, and I'm afraid of if this can hold. Or I'm okay now, but I don't know what tomorrow will be. So the effect of that illusion or that modification of the past to present and projecting to the future brings a certain a kind of uncertainty or kind of an effect to what I know for actuality that is okay right now. That it creates fear. So if we can understand that it's the permanent versus impermanent that creates fear, then perhaps we will also focus on the fact that there is no such thing as fear. It's a comparison of different actuality on different time, different thought, different time, is what creates fear, which that's for the same reason when we let fear stay a little bit or stay with it or time passes, that same fear that was making us concerned doesn't exist anymore. We don't feel as fearful about something that happened to me, let's say, or I was confronted with, let's say, 2 months ago. I'm not that fearful anymore. Or a week ago, I'm not that fearful. Or last night, I'm not that fearful anymore. Because it has a duration. Fear itself is an emotion that by time we naturally recognize that this is not as affecting, as devastating, as frightening as we thought it was, because by now we have more knowledge of it, and knowledge brings security and fades away the fear. Fear comes from lack of knowledge. So that's why if we stay with that moment that the fear is arising, stay with it and pay attention to it and try to see it as it arises, as it blooms, then the fear actually doesn't so easily happen, or if it doesn't come about at all, because we become aware of it, and awareness is knowledge, and knowledge brings security, and which erases and handles fear. So what's the whole point? The whole point is that we want to understand how to deal with these emotions and understand that the image, and comparing images itself, our image, somebody else's image, our image today with yesterday's image we had, or tomorrow's image we have, and comparison of all this kind brings fear. And comparison with our situation today with what it was yesterday, if it wasn't good and it's good now, we wonder what it's going to be tomorrow. These comparison moments is actually what brings fear, which brings tension and negative energy which wastes our time and so on and so forth. So always remember that one of the reasons that we get to know ourselves is through these illusionary feelings of fear, because we can understand it, dissect it, analyze it, and then therefore use that information to correct our consciousness and not let this become a point of reference in our consciousness. So anything else that comes about, we shouldn't be going back to this experience and allow fear to take place. Instead, we understand it better, we stay with the fear, we understand how to cope and be with the fear as it wants to bloom. Then the next time that something similar happens, we remember that we stayed with it and it wasn't that fearful. Therefore, it will be less of a influence on the next experience, and the fear next time would be less. And little by little, through a few times doing it, the consciousness will have a different point of reference for fear. And when something of shocking or different or unpleasant or something that we may be comparing and be worried about it, and which could create fear, we wouldn't allow that, because we now know fear is what we create by comparison of things. It's not by itself. There is no such thing as fear. There is no such thing in the world as fear by itself. Like love, there is love. It's not a comparison to something else that we feel love. But fear, there is no such thing as fear. It only creates because we are having a permanent situation now, we feel. We compare it with the impermanent, something we felt bad or frightened or some reason in the past, and we say that wasn't good. I'm afraid maybe I stole something and I'm afraid of the consequences, or something happened and I'm afraid of that consequence catching up with me. And then today I'm fine. Comparing it with that, then I get fearful. Or I'm fine today and I'm thinking, oh, what happens tomorrow? Would such a thing tomorrow, like, I don't know, whatever that I may have done in the classroom, in the university, or in the, however, maybe I cheated or something. And then I compare that effect of that to me, to what it is now, the reality of it now, and then I become fearful. So all these comparisons are what creates the fear. But there is no such thing as fear. Knowing the fact that there is no such thing as fear gives us a chance that every time that we are facing with something fearful, we understand that this is what is being created by we comparing this particular situation or that bad situation with what it is now, or what is happening now, going to consciousness, remembering some bad situation that we called it fear, and then we say, oh, this is fearful, and be fearful. But when we know there is no fear, then we would change the way we look at it when we are faced with something that could be worrisome, or we think it's worrisome, and we will not treat it as we used to. Therefore, the fear cannot easily be created of that sort. Now, if an animal runs at us or a truck comes at us, that's not fear. We just move because it's just a reaction that we got to do to survive, to save ourselves. But we're talking about most fears, if not all fears, are based on comparison of a permanent with impermanent, or a fraction or fragment of an impermanent happening, event in the past, and then we compare it with what it is now, and then we get worried about. So it's a comparison that creates the fear. There is no such thing as the fear by itself, like emotion, like love. And every time we fall in love is different. There's no comparison to it. That's an amazing thing. So that's the difference. That's why fear should not ever make us fearful so easy, because it's really is an illusion. And we have to remember that all these bad things that in this universe, in this life, and bad people that we meet, one thing that happens, we see ourselves through the mirror of the others. All the bad people, all the negative people, all the assholes, all the idiots, all the things, all the miserable people that creates situations or actions that creates and brings negativity or discomfort, uncomfort, to the society or to ourselves is one way for us to see how valuable, wonderful, perfect we are when we see the mentality and the negativity and the problems and the quality, bad quality of many others and their actions. So we can use seeing their behavior and actions and bad life and bad mentality and bad intentions and so on to understand how valuable we are. Because if there was really nothing bad, no bad person in the world, no bad thing, we wouldn't be able to see, contrary to us, to that, how wonderful and valuable we are. How else can I see how valuable I am if there is no shade? How else can I see there is sunshine? How can I appreciate water if there is no thirst? How can I appreciate tranquility if there is no troublesome places? So bad people, idiots, negatives, evils, we call them, all of that are the way that I can see my worth by seeing their bad behavior and actions and see how valuable and good and strong I have made out of myself. So all these weird people and all these troubled people, all these miserable people, all these losers, all these idiots that create all these kind of different kind of problems for people around the world in different venues and so on, are and could be used for me to show how wonderfully I have developed myself, how wonderfully I have achieved a higher level of being in existence and value comparing to what's out there. And so to me, it's a way I can see myself when I see such negativities, such people of lower level of worth of humanity, and that tells me who I am. So if you feel that was wrong, that was bad, that's bad behavior, that's negative, that also tells you that reflection, that mirror makes us see how valuable, how advanced, how developed, how civilized we have become, and we should stay on the same and that path that has brought this tranquility, this good energy, this understanding, and this higher level of consciousness and higher level of value and worth and unity, harmony, oneness with the universe and the energy of the universe that flows all through us. So don't take anything toward yourself when you see someone's behaving badly, disrespectfully towards you. It's their miserable life. It's their lack of worth and value. It's their inability to make anything out of themselves that they're coming after you. Because that's the only way they think they can get anything, which in fact they get nothing, they even lose more. So in the mirror of the others, in the mirror of the negatives and the worthless individuals and peoples of the world, we see who we have become. If we don't see a difference, that means we really haven't made anything out of ourselves. But when we see a difference, when we get really concerned and upset about it, then we can see, oh, there's a big difference between us. And then that's why I get upset, because I am in much higher value than these negatively motivated and intended people. So that's a reason for you to understand you're as good as you thought you were, and they don't count, because they can never get anything added to themselves by trying to come after you or make you feel bad or anything like that, because all it makes you to realize that action is that how actually strong and valuable you are. That's the positive. focus on for your own understanding of the reality of life, and get out of the illusion that the negativity of the others could redirect your mind and make you actually forget about the value of you and actually think that there is any diminished value to you because of their actions. And that is the illusion that you shouldn't fall into. So, I think I spoke a lot. That's the longest one thing, but I think two things here you should remember. There's no such thing as fear. Fear is always by comparison to other things. We should stop creating all these images and then protecting all these images, and hope that we will be able to have a life without much of an image and just live and flow as lightly and as confidently as possible without needing to create an image, have an image represent us, or defend an image. And at the same time, also remember, you see yourselves and your value and your worth through the mirror of the others. How bad they behave is a reflection of how good you are in comparison and in elevation. So, don't forget to meditate and understand your inner abilities, understand your worth, and do your best to live out of illusions and give yourself worth by your hard work, by your perseverance, anyhow, that, and by educating yourself, teaching yourself more values, more things, and building yourself from inside. And that's what makes you not need an image. The more you know, the less image you would need. Things that I used to think is very important for me when I was much, much younger, and defending and fight for it and think that is what represents me, I don't care about it anymore. Why? Because in the meantime, in many years passing by, I have elevated myself by learning more, grasping more, understanding more, researching more, and adding. When you add so much to yourself, the image doesn't matter anymore, but the content matters. And when you're aware of the contents of you, which forms you, your consciousness, and then contents of it being whatever it is, creates your consciousness, and consciousness includes, which represents you as a whole. And when you understand the center of you and who you are based on all these things, you will see you don't need an image. And therefore, those things that used to be so important when I was much younger, I thought that's what the value of me is, the images, and I had to defend them. I don't need them because I already know the content is there. I don't need an image for a content. The content, when it's there in reality and actuality in you, you're equipped with that, developed by that, you don't need an image. And when you don't have an image, nobody can hurt you, and you don't have to defend it. And therefore, naturally, also less fear, because there's nothing to worry about to lose, no image to worry about losing it. So all of that is connected, and I hope that was something that you can endure to listen to all this 43 minutes. And we'll talk to you soon on a shorter line. I wanted to finish this subject because then this would be the last segment of what I wanted to accomplish, and then next time we'll talk about other subjects. Have a nice evening, and talk to you later.